Recently, there was talk about the Celebration Bowl versus the FCS playoffs. And this is an argument that happens pretty much every year around the Celebration Bowl and playoffs. And of course, one side is like, we don't need the playoffs, it's rigged, the playoffs don't make any money, whereas the Celebration Bowl makes all this money and it's a celebration of the culture, and blah, 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 right? Then the other side will say, well, yes, the Celebration Bowl is nice and it's cool and all that, and it does make money and it is a viewed event and it's popular, but there are some of us who do want to prove that we are the best by going out there and winning a national championship. Now, a realistic and honest argument is that there are benefits and downsides to both things. Obviously, there's benefits to the Celebration Bowl. It's basically a weekend event that is a celebration of HBCU culture overall. And you do get to feel as though you are an HBCU national championship if your team, your school wins the game. It is a highly viewed game, and it does generate a whole lot of money and a whole lot of interest and eyeballs for HBCU sports overall. And it is a fun event to go to where people from all across the HBCU landscape will come together and gather around. While at the same time, an argument can also be made that we are not actively striving towards being the best. The only way you can prove that you are the best is by beating the best. The only way you can prove you're up there with a William and Mary, a New Hampshire, a North Dakota State, a South Dakota State, a Montana, is by actually going out there and beating those schools and winning a national championship. There are benefits to being the best. Studies have shown that success in sports does have a positive impact on enrollment. Sustained success in athletics does help to build the brand of the school and has an influence on the caliber of athletes that you can get to join your program. The higher of caliber of athletes you get to join your program, the more money you can raise and get donated to the school's endowment. That's one of the reasons why Howard has such a huge endowment. Not necessarily because of sports, but because they have so many famous and rich and successful alumni. And they have a very huge brand. And almost every time somebody talks about donating money to an HBCU, almost every time Howard is one of the schools that get brung up. Now, on the flip side, to be fair, typically the individual ratings for individual playoff games are not equivalent to the ratings of the Celebration Bowl. But also, to be fair, that's not really a fair way to measure or compare the two, because the Celebration Bowl is the culmination of the entire HBCU football season. So the entire HBCU world is watching one game. Whereas with the FCS playoffs, there are over 10, 15, 20 teams who are playing to be the one champion. So you're going to have 10, 15, 20 different fan bases watching one particular game because their particular school is playing in it. So it makes sense that the viewership for the Celebration Bowl would be higher than any one game in the playoffs. Because once again, the entire HBCU world is watching this one game because that's the only game that we have. Whereas with the FCS playoffs, there's several different games that you can watch. If your personal team is not in it, then you can watch a team that you know somebody that plays for is in it, or you can watch another team that's in the conference. Or you can watch a team that's very good from your state or your area. So there's several different games you can watch and several different opportunities and reasons to watch. There's not just one game for one weekend. Also, we're going to have to be realistic and just thinking ahead. Is it possible that over time the Celebration Bowl wanes in popularity? And the only reason I say that is actually pretty simple when you really think about it. traditionally speaking, there's going to be around 5 or 6 teams that consistently have a legitimate chance of winning or going to the Celebration Bowl. Right on a regular basis, about 5 or 6 teams that you can expect to go consistently and realistically. So that leaves out the majority of all the other schools in the MEAC and the SWAC. And so a couple of questions arise. Number one, how many times are people going to attend this great and entertaining HBCU weekend so close to Christmas? How many times can you get people to go? Because you have to understand, not only is this a HBCU national championship that only features 2 teams, but only features 2 teams from 2 conferences. So you have HBCUs who are not in HBCU conferences, and you have a whole bunch of Division II HBCUs who do not qualify for the game either. Understanding that all of us will want to probably experience this at some point in time, I'm sure that all of us will go to at least, well, not all of us, but as many of us who can will go to at least one Celebration Bowl for the experience. The question is, how many can you get people to go to? That's the question. An argument can be made that over time, the interest will naturally wane because, once again, how many times are you going to get people whose school is not directly in the game interested in flying out so close to the holidays to attend this event after they've been once or been twice? Once again, I'm someone who likes the Celebration Bowl, but I also would like to see an HBCU win a national championship at some point in time. But what do you think? The Celebration Bowl or the FCS playoffs, and why?